Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are so excited to have here our friends from Grotto Psychological Solutions based out of New York City. Yeah, it's the masterclass on overcoming anxiety and obsessive thoughts with Dr. Parlor, who joins us live here today on the Zoom and, of course, on the podcast. So, Dr. Jessica C Parlor, thank you for being here today. How are you?
Doing well, my pleasure. Thank you for having Grotto here with you, Jill.
Well, we're excited about this, and I would love to learn more about the psychotherapy that you're offering for so many people. And just a quick overview of what Grotto Psychological Services has to offer. Would you mind sharing?
Sure. So Dr. Melissa Cisco, who is unable to join us today, started Grotto Psychological Services. She is based out of North Carolina, and I am the branch here in New York City. So Grotto Psychological Services with Dr. Cisco offers a lot of treatment for PTSD, heavily trauma informed, and Dr. Cisco and Dr. Martin, our other colleague, spearhead the trauma work there. I was able to join Grotto because it really aligned with a lot of my goals in providing treatment for anxiety and OCD. I absolutely enjoy serving those who take on a very full plate, who have very high expectations of themselves, and also need a little support as they transition and adapt to the different performance goals and also all the spaces that they're required to show up in.
Beautiful. And I know we're going to focus on the psychotherapy for high functioning, successful people who, a lot of us feeling overwhelmed and the responsibilities, the pressure, and managing this anxiety, the OCD, the pressure of life, work, and so much more. But first, if you don't mind, can I just go back a little bit to find out about yourself? Could you tell me a little bit about where you grew up and, of course, what made you come down this career path to help others like this?
Absolutely, I'd love to. I am a native of Charleston, South Carolina. I still think it is the most beautiful place on the planet. Though I spent 15 and a half years in Los Angeles prior to moving to New York City to complete my training for my doctorate degree. Growing up in the South, I definitely have those amazing influences,
Mm-hmm.
heavy cultural influence of church and religion, and also just a lot of the traditional expectations of being a woman and what your life is going to look like. Moving to Los Angeles gave me an opportunity to explore all of the fringes of anything that I could ever be interested in. And the weather, of course, you cannot beat out in LA. It was in Los Angeles where I participated in my training for school for my doctoral degree. And that was also the first time I had ever encountered a Black female psychologist. So I met a Black woman who was a psychologist when I was working at a detention facility as a case manager. And within a year and a half, I had enrolled in school to do the same. So I give Los Angeles and that experience a lot of credit there. I often will say that I've been in love with psychology since I took my first abnormal psych class in high school, and my bachelor's degree is also in psychology. I do think that I was trying to figure out what profession could help me help myself, and I have found psychology to be very enriching in that way and brought me also to the diagnostic population that I enjoy working with: anxiety disorders and OCD.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And for today, we just want to point out, obviously, the website, how we can contact you. Grottopsych.com is a good spot. GROTTOPSYCH.com.
Yes,
All
you can
right,
find
good.
me there.
Where else?
Also at Embracing Alchemy. I started my practice Embracing Alchemy last year in June and really focused on consultation and doing talks. I speak on diversity, anxiety, things like that. I love working with trainees, so have an opportunity to do some supervision there. And when I was ready to build my psychotherapy practice, I found a home with Grotto. And so I'm fortunate to be able to absolutely be a face for both of those companies that do great work.
All right, well, let's get started. You wanted to talk about helping people, right? Manage this overwhelm, and could you share a little bit about the how the process and how you help people?
So, absolutely. Right now, I mean, I could say we've been in a decade, but I know a
Yeah.
lot of people point to COVID as being an
Hmm.
opportunity for us to be very honest and candid about our mental health, in particular, how anxiety affects us on so many levels,
Yeah.
physically, mentally, and it tends to show up first in our performance, either on the job and or in our relationships, right? Our personal relationships, our private relationships, where we want to maintain them in a way that's very healthy. So that's the first thing I offer
Good.
anybody that's working with me, is that I have a lot of space to hear and believe and validate that anxiety is causing issues, right? We all experience stress, that's a part of life. Anxiety, being that reaction to the stress, can show up in so many different ways and has a lot to do with what was modeled for us growing up, who we are individually, and usually our favorite coping skills can become quite maladaptive when we are out kind of overwhelmed and it's going above and beyond our safe container that way. So the first thing I offer is a lot of space to talk about how this is showing up, not just in your sleep, maybe your eating habits, but how you said that really awful thing maybe to someone you care about or at an important and opportune time, or how you felt like you couldn't say what you needed to say or wanted to say, because the anxiety became overwhelming. And anxiety talks to us and makes us feel quite incompetent at times and very undeserving. So, first thing I offer is that. My other, I conceptualize heavily from CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and I want to know where it's showing up in your body. And if you don't know, I will help you point it out, because trust me, the way you're showing up in this world, people are noticing. Maybe you've become unaware just to move through and manage and take care of all your needs and responsibilities. However, there's a cumulative effect that's usually negative, as far as our physical health, which always affects our mental health. It'd be nice to be able to separate the two, but that is not how the customized human body operates. So that's a huge part. And then, thirdly, I would say that I'm very creative and innovative with interventions. Nothing has to be perfect. I would even argue it doesn't even have to always be polite. And
Yeah,
so
right.
we can so we can
Oh,
always work through some of the ways that you feel like you can feel empowered, have an option, and show up for yourself.
beautiful. And just to point out, you're located close to Grand Central, right? That's your office.
Yes.
And you do telehealth in person as well for New York and Colorado-based clients, correct?
Yes, so telehealth for Colorado-based clients, in person for my New York City clients, and I also offer telehealth. I love working in a metropolitan city, so I can appreciate that a nice hybrid of the two really serves, and provides a lot of access to people that can benefit.
Great. Well, also want to point out that you are very welcome of those in the LGBTQ plus community as well. So you have experience working with people like that as well.
Absolutely. All welcome here. And I include the LGBT community. I also include those who have different religious and cultural beliefs, because I want you to know you're absolutely welcome in this space. And we can talk about the influences, the impacts, and those unique dynamics there.
Perfect. All right. Well, as far as the work you're doing, I would love to hear some examples of, the type of work you're doing, how you've helped someone, get from point A to point B. It's always good to hear a testimonial or two, but also want to point out as well that the whole Grotto team, right? You have Dr. Martin, Dr. Cisco as well, and they're working out of which states? Would you mind sharing?
Dr. Martin and Dr. Cisco working out in North Carolina. Yes.
Perfect. And they also do telehealth work as well.
Telehealth, yes, lots of telehealth work there. And they do have an in person office as well that I haven't been able to visit yet, but I will at some point.
Okay. Well, I know you also work a lot with OCD clients as well. Is there something in particular you want to share, a story or a journey of some of the people you've helped, obviously without using their names?
Jill, I totally appreciate this opportunity. One of the things I get to do with the OCD community, I participate and love the organization, the International OCD Foundation. And I have an opportunity to join OCD with another favorite population, helping professionals. And I am able to participate in a group, a special interest group, where we get together once a month and offer support. Though I myself have not been diagnosed with OCD. I don't experience those symptoms. I have a lot of admiration for those that are struggling, and especially those who have dedicated their lives to helping others, nurses, teachers, librarians. I'm thinking of some of the people that show up monthly and we join together. One of the biggest things that comes up in that group and that touches my heart every single time is whether to disclose or not. And I hope that anybody listening, I'm sure this has come up, when you're experiencing anxiety or a specific phobia or symptoms of OCD, they attach themselves to things that are really important to you. And when you're at your job trying to perform well and help
Hmm.
others, be of service, OCD can absolutely try to hijack that opportunity that you've taken to serve. And so some of the conversations that go on there are specific. Hey, am I working in a place where it's safe to disclose? That's a case by case basis, right? And so I want anybody to know we would talk more and try to understand how that would help you or how that might put you more at risk. My next point that I definitely drive in that group is to take time off. If you had a broken leg, you would take time off to prioritize care,
Yep,
to
for sure.
resolve and manage that. I would like us to approach our mental health needs the same, especially with OCD, where people are engaging in compulsions that take up a lot of time, that drain their physical energy. An opportunity to take some time off of work, have your needs, your mental health needs prioritized is critical and absolutely beneficial. It's beneficial to the individual and to the workspace. In the last 6 weeks or so, we've had two individuals boldly take time off of work to prioritize their needs,
Yep.
specifically as they were experiencing compulsions, and the obsessions that drive those compulsions had gotten to a severe point. Lots of time washing hands, organizing, checking things over and over again, and often involving our loved ones in the
Wow.
compulsions, which is also another level of stress. So I would encourage taking a moment to step back. As a psychologist, I love when people tell me that they're going to
Yep.
prioritize their mental health, and I'm seeing more and more providers actually make space and time for that. So that's my other advocacy point. I can also share some unique presentations
Yeah.
of OCD. I believe I had shared with Dr. Cisco previously that there's a presentation of harm OCD where people are really concerned that things that they're doing or not doing may cause harm to others. I had an opportunity to work with a patient who was concerned that she was driving over an actual person or animal every time she ran over a bump or any sort
Hmm.
of sound that would show up while she was commuting to and from work. And in one case, she spent 30
Uh,
minutes circling back around and looking for the human or animal that she had harmed. That's how aggressive the OCD and the anxiety monster can be when it hits a severe level.
wow.
With her, we did a lot of work. The treatment for OCD, the empirically validated, helpful, effective treatment for OCD is exposure response prevention. And so, number one, wanted to offer her the space that as a driver of 10 to 20 years, very skilled, she is not running over people and animals as she is commuting to and from work because that's something she would not
Hmm.
do.
Uh,
And also to have her walk through, okay, you ran over a bump, it could be a list of 10 things, right? And
yeah.
do we need to focus and prioritize on all of those things. So that was a particularly touching case because she would also push all of the cans back on the shelves in the grocery store and lots of other behaviors to protect the imaginary people
Of
and the public
course.
in general.
Yeah.
And at the same time, wanted to offer her some peace, gave her time back, her sense of self, and that contentment that she was a good person that would not engage in harm.
Beautiful. I love hearing these stories. And you mentioned whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, writer, cashier, teacher, business owner, there's no discrimination in any profession that you
No.
are. And do you find a lot of the, how do I say, more successful people, are they suffering with OCD or this anxiety? It's just something that we've heard, I think, so much about, especially more in this anxiety since the pandemic. I mean, I feel like mental health challenges always existed, but I feel like there's been more awareness as well. But what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, the awareness and the openness, right? There's always been
Hmm.
communities of treatment providers that can tell, right, when
Yeah.
people are experiencing symptoms of anxiety and OCD. And also, I have to include the phobias in there. It's one of the reasons why I really like working with anxiety because I work with such severe cases that
Hmm.
I can appreciate even when somebody who considers themselves accomplished or high functioning and very skilled is experiencing anxiety. I often describe it as you've managed pressure cookers plenty before, and this is just reaching a level where it's beneficial to have somebody with my skill set, right? A clinical perspective offer you some coping skills to manage this. And that's what I want my patients to know. I don't need you to become this calm person
Hmm.
after you've experienced anxiety, a phobia, or OCD. I would like you to feel restored back to where you felt capable and empowered to manage these things. I find it admirable and honorable that so many of us are able to be high achieving. We've overcome so many things in many unique ways, and then sometimes the most maladaptive ways. And those can become exhaustive if used over time and not replaced with something that's a bit better to give you relief. So yes, I want you to know, yes, doctors, lawyers,
Aw.
but people that participate in sports, any sort of performance pressure,
Yeah.
right? Where people have been rewarded for showing up and kind of exceeding expectations, even under duress and circumstances that the average person would not face. I don't ever want them to feel like they've completely fallen off or somehow lost themselves when in
Hmm.
truth, we just need to adjust our best coping skills and strategies for the conditions that are in front of us.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. And also, let's remind everyone how we could reach out to you all to book a session. And what is that process like? If you go to the website, right, it's
Yep.
grottopsych.com. Is there a phone number or social media pages you want to share as well?
Yes, yes. My social media page is actually Embracing Alchemy. If you go to embracingalchemy.com, it's going to take you to grottopsych.com because that is where I do my psychotherapy services and offer all my psychological services through Grotto. You can click on my name directly and it will take you to book a session with me online, or you can give us a call 1-877-292-0290.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And also, we want to talk a little bit more. Well, let me ask you in particular, just a little bit about, how you got your start, right? Because you were talking about the psychology you studied, and then when you were 32, you were motivated, right? And what would you
Yeah.
share to someone out there who wants to get into the same business? Any advice to them as well?
Yes, yes, yes. So I am absolutely a later in life student. My colleagues told me not to call it an older student, that language is passé. And so I have adapted later in life. And this is not uncommon. A lot of us change careers, we transition, our interests change over time. I myself had worked in the mental health field as a case manager for over a decade, and then I ran into the Black woman psychologist and decided I wanted to
Hmm.
have a stronger voice, a bigger ability to advocate. And so I returned to school in Los Angeles,
Wow.
and that I would tell anyone just be prepared to shift. A lot of times as we're moving through life, we definitely customize our experiences to what we're good at and what we like to do. And when you return to school as a student, it's back to everything that you need to do to move through the process. So I would just encourage anyone that is thinking about it. Number one,
Mhm.
do it. Number two, embrace the experience truly. Like really wrap your hands around it. Get involved in all the networking that's done, but you will find people with similar interests who may be doing what you're doing as far as returning back to school, and enjoy as much of it as you can, because then you're going to go to work and then that happens as well. So
Aw.
I would definitely encourage anyone to go into our field, because I do believe that we need as many mental health providers as possible. Like I said, there's more awareness and acceptance in talking about it, and so we need quality service providers.
Yeah.
Once I did my training here in New York City, I finished my dissertation after internship and then started working during COVID. So I had the opportunity to do inpatient psychiatry in a public health hospital here in the city during COVID times. And I
Hmm.
will never forget the opportunity to serve, but also the lessons learned about healthcare, about what our community still needs so much of, right? As far as support and access to services. But at the time, those connections formed with your team members, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary treatment teams, we're bonded, right? We're bonded
Yep.
for life, having gone through that experience together. So, yes, everything in healthcare still needed people and providers to show up. Mental health was not going to be excluded from that. And inpatient psychiatry services are still very critical. I believe that when you need relief, you seek it at whatever level of care serves you best. And so the opportunity to work in inpatient psychiatry during COVID left me with a broadened view of how I can serve.
Got it. Well, thank you so much. And we still have 5 more minutes left in the show. So for today's conversation, I just want to make sure we're covering everything here. Obviously, someone has need and help of overcoming anxiety and obsessive thoughts. Um, Dr. Parlor, you would recommend giving you all a call, right? That is your specialty.
Yes. One of the questions I want to help people answer is this anxiety? Is this OCD? Is this unusual, right? Like that's one of the worst parts of mental health stigma, is the isolation that people believe is required because they're the only one going through it. Not at all. My mom said there's nothing new under the sun, and I want you to know same thing in mental health, right? And OCD and anxiety can show up heavily during periods of transition, and there are many transitions in life. That's absolutely a huge part of what we come to accept and hopefully get really good at managing those transitions. But I'm specifically thinking right now, if you're starting a family, OCD can show up during pregnancy and in postpartum, and in both parents. Everybody that's intending to provide care can experience a version of exaggerated concern with the stress of starting a family. So a huge part of seeking care, you can start with your PCP, and I'm hoping that all professionals in healthcare are getting better at providing referrals and encouraging mental health treatment, because that is a question that everybody deserves to have answered. Am I alone? Is this unusual? Is this anxiety? Is this OCD? Is this a phobia? And how can I be helped?
Well, thank you for that. And also, just want to make sure you go to the website. There's some insights there. You have some hacks, AI hacks for mental health, right? You inside the blog, it's the dream. What dream are you neglecting? You can also help people get to that next level as well, right? Because that it can really help someone because we all want, something better in a sense. But these simple actions that you're learning can inspire you and help you go further in so many different aspects, right?
Absolutely. And also the opportunity to be held and supported. I
Yeah.
absolutely work with a lot of high functioning individuals who
Yeah.
manage their lives very well, multiple businesses, multiple successes, and I want them to know that there's
Yeah.
always space for them to seek quality support. I think you can even see on the website where I talk about what it's like to be in treatment with me. I hope that it's very warm and structured, that if you're
Hmm.
feeling that you're out of control, that things are going way off the sides, that you can come and meet with me and I can create a safe, structured, warm space for you to feel vulnerable, open up, and also to know that there's a way for you to feel much more empowered, feel like you have all of your options returned to you, and
Okay.
to head back out into the world. That's fully what I expect.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, for joining us. And if you want to reach out, go to grottopsych.com. Also, you're active, I see, right, on social media. And what's the phone number too?
That'd be 877-292-0290. I'd love to hear from you. Anybody that thinks they even just have a question about how they're functioning, give us a call.
Beautiful. And we're excited to help you out. So again, you're based out of the New York City office, which is located where specifically?
Near Grand Central, but I like to tease that I'm closer to Bryant Park so we can go out there and get some sunshine once it warms up a bit. Come
Beautiful
see me,
place.
Jill.
I
We'll hit the
love it. I
park.
worked on 42nd and 2nd for many years. So that was like the hot spot to go walk to the hotel. And then even for winter, I brought my kids there just a few months ago to check out all the ice skating. It was too hectic, but just a beautiful spot, right?
Absolutely. I'm on East 39th Street and I would
Oh,
love to. Yes, it's gorgeous around here, but I would also love to have people join me in my space if they'd like to in person. It's quite
beautiful.
warm.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Pleasure getting to know you today. Looking forward to meeting Dr. Cisco, Dr. Martin, and the whole staff. Again, grottopsych.com is the website. Go there. And looking forward to the next time we get to connect. Thank you so much. Pleasure getting to know you today.
Likewise, thank you, Jill.
Thank you. Have a fantastic day.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.